All right, what's up, you guys? Welcome to another episode here on Sharkstalgia, where I talk about all things 80s and 90s. And today is March 19th, 2026. And it's such an emotional and devastating blow to the martial arts world because beloved actor, legend, and icon Chuck Norris has passed away. And I'm going to try my best to share my thoughts because I'm still processing and digesting this news that happened or broke out earlier this morning. Um, Chuck Norris was not just, I guess you can say, a martial artist, but he was also an actor who went on to do so many great films, and one of them, especially being The Way of the Dragon, which also starred icon and legend Bruce Lee. But one of the more notorious or famous acting careers of his um, legacy was being Cordell Walker in the show Walker Texas Ranger. Now, I can go on and talk about all his movies and talk about just how much of a great martial artist he is, and perhaps I can save that for another video. But in this tribute, I just want to share how much this impacts me as not just a content creator, as not just an artist, or not someone who's a fan of Chuck Norris, but someone who is alive, someone who's breathing, someone who had overcome a lot of obstacles in his life because of Chuck Norris's teachings. Now, there's also an animated series called Karate Commandos that starred Chuck Norris, and there's few action figures alongside that. So he was quite known in the market for a lot of various different things. But of course, a lot of them being not just a champion, but also being a part of movies and TV shows. And one of the things I will speak about is specifically more about Walker Texas Ranger because that was a show that I grew up watching. And the best way to describe Walker Texas Ranger and Chuck Norris's acting and just what I've learned and benefited from, not just the character, but what he portrayed to be, is that imagine you wake up on the weekends and there's like a glow, like a hazy um, sun glow coming from the window. You're sitting in your kitchen in the 90s and the TV is on and you're watching Walker Texas Ranger, which of course takes place in Texas. Now, all the beauty of the scenery aside, which I can just go on and talk about how much the scenery plays a pivotal role within the series. But one thing that really hurts, or one thing that really makes me emotional, is not just his passing, but the hero that he was to me in the sense of overcoming obstacles, always being positive, always looking for justice, trying to be fair, being wise, showing wisdom, showing growth. It's all about character development, learning from your mistakes, not letting anger get the best of you. And that's just a few things that the show has taught me, and it helped me in my everyday life. And it's one of those shows where I could literally have a very bad day and then see that Walker Texas Ranger is on TV, and just to see him go through his trials and tribulations and then having the opportunity to take down the bad guys and knowing that he has the potential to do it in various other ways, but he decides to abide by the law and be a rightful citizen, and showing that no matter how much anger I have, justice will prevail. Despite how much revenge he wanted on certain enemies, despite how much he wanted to take down certain villains in the series. Um, so the best way I can explain this is that watching, or not just watching the show, or just watching a lot of his movies, but Chuck Norris himself, you watch a lot of interviews and you can see a lot of um, hope in him. You can see how much he tells you that life is beautiful, to breathe, to enjoy every single moment, to be physically fit to, to your degree. Try to seize every opportunity that you have and to not give up hope and not lose who you are as a person because other people are putting you down. He was always that ray of hope, that ray of light that always guided you in the right direction, regardless all the ups and downs. And whether he was playing a character or being himself on TV during interviews, one thing you can always see that he spoke with faith. He spoke with belief. He spoke with optimism. He always told people that you can achieve, you can be successful, you can. That's the whole point. It was never that you can't. Um, Things do get tough, but you only fail when you give up and don't try anymore. And that's one of those really, you know, beautiful things about Chuck Norris, and it's very difficult for me to, share everything that I love about this guy because, in the world of the 80s and 90s when martial arts was thriving at that point, Chuck was definitely one of the most biggest legends and icons and greatest champions, especially someone who won numerous belts, numerous competitions, and someone who was also in the military. Um, you can see that he used all his knowledge, all his wisdom to help other people who were in different situations than him. And that's what I've always loved about his character, what I've always loved about his personality. You watch any single variation of this particular person in any film or show, and you can see that he's really putting himself in there. And that's what makes him such a legend and an icon because he just wanted you to believe that everything was worth it if you just see the bigger picture and take your losses and how to overcome it. And this is all just, very vague things, but if I were to really dig deep down and talk about every single thing I love about this guy, I would have to write an essay about it. But I want to keep this a little bit brief. So yeah, I'm stumbling on words because there's so much love and respect and inspiration I have from Chuck Norris himself, and losing him is like, I don't know, like losing a role model. Granted that, he's also has his status in the world of memes where there's like, a million different memes of how Chuck Norris is the most badass character in the universe. And if you read all his memes of how, you know, I'm not going to go over any of them because you just have to read them because every one of them is um like amazing and hilarious in their own way. But that just shows you how badass Chuck Norris is. He was a force to reckon with. You do not mess with Chuck Norris, especially with, getting a roundhouse kick to the face. So, with that being said, I want to keep this a little bit short, but all I'm going to say is losing Chuck Norris is a big blow to the martial arts world, a big blow to the universe, and um, yeah, honestly, I think he's accomplished a lot and has done a lot, paid his dues, and he absolutely lived his life to the fullest at the age of 86. So, with that being said, I want to thank you guys all for watching, and appreciate anyone who leaves a comment on this video. And hopefully, we have better days to come because, again, this is something I still have to process as one of my favorite um, actors, favorite personality, favorite character. Um, Everything about Chuck Norris was always spoken to on a good light. There was never anything negative about him. There was never any drama associated to him. There was never any negativity, never anything bad to say about him. He was always spoken to in a positive manner, and that's what I love and respect about him. So, Thank you guys all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Rest in peace, Chuck Norris. Always and forever the greatest Texas Ranger to ever live.